right, so this is our fourth annual Year in Tears. If you count the blog years, this is our second time trying to do it in the audio medium.
That's right.
Just treat this as a road trip from 126 to 1 with some pit stops along the way. I felt like I did a pretty decent job policing myself and not like force-feeding music that I didn't care about this year. So I thought, okay, my number's going to be down, but yeah, I still ended up with 126.
Quite a few.
That's a lot. That's a lot of music. But yeah, I guess you want to start at the bottom. Did you listen to Just Friends?
Yes.
We might as well get into it. Oh, wait. Before we get into that, our bottom tier name, what did we come up with? Oh, it's the Don't Worry, Darling press tour.
That's a good one.
It's a train wreck, but you're so intrigued you have to see how it all ends. That's what these are.
You're wondering what happened behind the scenes.
Exactly, yeah. There's enough intrigue that you did actually finish it and seek out the truth. But yeah, I only have 3 in my worst this year. That's like the smallest.
I was going to say, I think that does speak to what you were just saying about not being quite so masochistic
yeah.
about it this year. Luckily most of the stuff has made it into at least the mid-tier.
Yeah, mid-tier's pretty big. That's got like 50 or something.
Mid and good are real big this time.
A lot of good music.
Yeah. And I will say, like, speaking of Just Friends,
yeah,
like even at the bottom of the list, I was really intrigued by this album.
Yeah.
It seemed to change like every 3 songs or so and just throw something new at you like at some point. Well, okay, first of all, we should probably say, like, what's our overall, can we categorize this in some way?
I have no idea. I said, like, they were the runners-up in casting a Camp Rock reboot as, like, the villains, but they're too nice.
There is some serious youth center energy coming off of this band.
Yeah. It's wild that they're on the same label as Drug Church and Terror. Like, I just don't know who this is for.
Huh. Terror? Like the hardcore
Yeah,
band?
yeah.
They're still alive?
Oh, yeah, they're around. I think the Warriors are on it, too. You remember those guys?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, I guess that's not completely baffling to me because, yeah, I don't think that this band is incompetent.
Yeah.
You know? And I think there were times where I was thinking, I don't know. I mean, the music isn't really, I don't think, doing much new.
Yeah.
But the choices they make within that is interesting. Like the choice to become Rage Against the Machine for a couple songs and like write a pretty decent like Muzak version of Rage Against the Machine riffs and stuff like that.
It's like Rage Against the Machine Kidz Bop. That's what it is.
It is. Yeah. Because the lyrics are just like, I'm mad. I'm really mad.
Yeah. They have like the Black Eyed Peas thing where they spell out stupid, right? That's the that was great.
I didn't even make that connection, but I thought of Black Eyed Peas when I listened to this band. I also thought of Insane Clown Posse at times, just because of like the good vibes coming off of these guys.
Yeah, they're definitely fearless.
Yeah.
Okay, I just got the Pure Noise roster. So we've got Drug Church, The Early November, First Blood, Hawthorne Heights.
Oh, yeah.
Knocked Loose. Knuckle Puck. Microwave. Prince Daddy and the Hyena.
Yeah.
Census Fail.
All right. They're still kicking it.
State Champs. Stick to Your Guns.
Oh, yeah.
Terror. The Warriors.
Hell yeah.
And Just Friends.
Yeah.
I want to know who they're touring with from their label. Who are you putting them on tour
with?
Right.
How do you make a package out of that?
Just opening for a Terror crowd. Can you imagine?
Maybe the Early November.
Maybe.
I don't know what they sound like anymore.
4 Years Strong, they're on there. Maybe they'll go tour with them.
Okay.
Did you listen to all 3 of these? I mean, this is a small tier.
In the bottom.
Do we want to give time to all of these or just cherry pick the worst of the worst?
I don't have much to say about Physical Thrills by Silver Sun Pickups.
Yeah.
I did not spend a lot of time with that. Something about that did not feel like it was on point. For me.
It definitely has that thing of like, there's not a lot of ideas here, so let's just throw a bunch of production stuff at it.
Yes. Yeah, that is exactly it. And I feel bad not having much more to say about it than that, but that's the impression.
Yeah.
So I'll check in with them again.
Yeah, for sure. And they've been consistent in the past. This is definitely the biggest miss I've heard from them.
That's good to know.
But yeah, I'd say the same thing about Calvin Harris.
Yeah, I'd say this was a bigger miss.
Yeah.
I texted you a little bit trying to like put Calvin Harris into context for me.
Yeah.
Because I was not super familiar, just knew that like some Busco friends were into him in the past.
Yep. Yeah, when we all used to work at the comic book sweatshop and we needed some energy pumping music.
Sure.
I'd put on some Calvin Harris, listen to I Created Disco or Ready for the Weekend.
Yeah.
It was always great. I don't even know if he sings on this. I didn't even pay attention to that. But he used to sing himself, and then he started doing, the guest features when people started picking up on it. Did that big Rihanna song, We Found Love in a Hopeless Place, and was a huge component of like integrating EDM and like dance music into pop for a while. And this is just like so checked out and lazy.
Yeah, and funk is not a good genre to be checked out and lazy about.
No.
Like, it's not going to sound like funk if you don't use the right staples of the genre.
Yeah.
But then you also kind of need to like bring some newness to it.
Yeah, that was kind of my frustration. It's like he was really good at bringing modern ideas to classic, like the I Created Disco. Like there's a bunch of cool disco beats, but it's all done with like electronic production. So it sounds fresh. This, like, a lot of this just sounded like bad, like, 1970s rerun TV music.
Yeah, I thought what modern sensibility it had felt like more of a crutch than a decision. It's not fat enough. Like, you got to have quite a bit of stuff going on to fill out a funk song.
Yeah, it was pretty flat, pretty empty.
Yeah.
Well, that's the bottom tier. We're burning through them already.
Oh, yeah, we got it.
So these were bad, but not terrible. Had some redeeming qualities. If you're desperate enough, it'll entertain you. Like the aforementioned Wishmaster we discussed 2 episodes ago. I watched Wishmaster, by the way.
Yeah.
On Tubi. Wasn't bad.
Yeah.
I feel like they made the poster before they shot the movie. Like, I remember that like VHS box art very vividly of like the gray vampire looking dude. And then you watch the movie and he looks like a lizard. And I'm like, what the hell?
Oh, so it's like not even the same.
It doesn't
mask.
look like, I mean, it doesn't give the same impression. I just feel like it was something they were like, okay, we need to sell Wes Craven on producing this movie. Let's throw together a poster on what a Wishmaster looks like. And then when it came down to execution, it's, not very good.
Shoot.
But it is the only movie that has Robert Englund and Kane Hodder, the guy who plays Jason Voorhees, in the same movie together. Kane Hodder plays like a security guard.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask if they had like interesting roles or
No, not at all. And the Candyman is like a doorman or something really weird, but he still like talks like he's the Candyman. So you have the Wishmaster and Candyman just having this exchange of like, yes, how fascinating. But it's just like a valet. It's not even like anyone of any significance.
Whoa.
So these are the Wishmasters.
Yes, all of these are
where do you want to
Wishmasters.
start? We got Mom Jeans, the Bruce Lee Band, Destroyer. I'm done with Destroyer. I tried one more record and I just couldn't do it. His lyrics are so bad.
So that's too many bad records in a row from them, or?
Yeah, he's just like, it's like bad slam poetry over synth pop. And I'm just like, turn your microphone off, dude.
Oh, no.
I don't want to hear you sing anymore. I'm done.
Oh, no.
And I don't know, this isn't really fair either, but what's that guy's name? You know the guy from Parks and Rec who has like the cologne company?
Dennis Feinstein?
Yeah. Jason Mantzoukas?
Jason Mantzoukas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He looks a lot like him, and I feel like that just burned into my brain. Like, that's this dude. He thinks he's so fucking cool, and it's just not.
Damn. What about Bruce Lee Band?
And that one's tough. I feel bad not liking it because Mike Park's awesome. He's the founder of Asian Man Records, put out, Bomb the Music Industry stuff. Andrew Jackson Jihad, Alkaline Trio back in the day.
Yeah.
But this is his like kind of passion project that he resurrected with a bunch of scrap pieces of Bomb the Music Industry. And it sounds real dated. Like the songs are just real drawn out and repetitive.
So it's like stuff that he wanted to write back in the day, like kind of leftovers.
It feels like it. Like it feels real dated. Like somebody that would be opening up for like Mustard Plug in 2002 or something. It's just not great.
Okay. What other Wishmasters do we have?
Let's go through the Wishmasters.
What about this Interpol album?
We had some bands that kind of redeemed themselves and bounced back. We'll get to later in the list, but there are also some that are pretty consistent, like Silver Sun Pickups or Interpol, that kind of missed for me.
Yeah.
And this was definitely, I think, probably my least favorite Interpol record I've heard.
Okay.
It just sounds like it could be C or D sides to any one of their records. Like it's just, they're not really progressing their sound, and they've kind of made the best versions of these songs.
Sure.
15 years ago.
Yeah,
so
I could see that.
I mean, it's one of those kind of tug of war things where like they have a very distinct style, and like that is their trademark, but it's also just like, how many times do you put out the same record?
Only a few, I would say.
Yeah. And this is their 6th record in 20 years. So it's not even like they put out a ton of albums, but it's just...
How long have you been with them?
I think I got into their first record that...
Same.
Bring Out the Bright Lights or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that one's the best, I think. But yeah, it's kind of just been diminishing returns every time, for me at least.
I think Antics was the high point for me.
Oh, was it? Okay, yeah. And I like that one too.
Yeah, that was probably their biggest commercial success, I would think, too.
Yeah.
Okay. What else in the bad? Oh, wait, no, there's quite a few more in the bad section.
Bad's pretty big. We want to get to a Grammy-nominated Best Album, Lizzo.
This one?
Special, yeah.
This one was Grammy-nominated?
Yep, just got announced a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, so you were more down on this one than I expected, I think.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Did you enjoy it?
I did.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, I don't know what it was about it, but I think she has a few music videos out for this one.
Okay.
And that was like my introduction to the album. So maybe that's part of it, is like, I feel like she's good with multimedia stuff. I think her stuff becomes a lot more exciting when you see her on the screen.
Yeah. Sure.
Because I think her personality is like a lot of the draw of her music. But yeah, what was missing on this one for you?
I don't know. I think for me, it just felt kind of like the personality wasn't as strong. Her last record was huge, obviously. Had a bunch of really good singles. This one, like, I didn't really care for the singles. It felt like all that, like, empowerment and like boss bitch stuff was just really forced. Like the Thick 30 and Bad Bitch O'Clock. I'm just kind of like, this sounds like bad Facebook memes. Like,
it does seem to conflict a little with like the lyrical content on other parts of the album, where it's a lot more introspective and dealing with lack of confidence and self-doubt and all that stuff.
Yeah, I wish she would have leaned into that a little more. Like the title track Special, I was like, that's kind of breaching what it feels like as a more genuine expression, where the other stuff feels like, okay, I need more singles, I need something else.
Putting on the Lizzo costume again.
Yeah. I think maybe that was it. It just didn't feel as genuine this time around.
It would be cool to see her lean in a different direction a bit more and not feel beholden to a certain style. Or
it just felt like, how many times do you need to tell us like you're indestructible? Like, we get it, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
especially like you said, when you have other glimpses of like she's having clearly some issues being in the public eye and constantly having to defend herself as like a huge pop star and a non-traditional looking one. So like,
that's stuff we want to hear about.
I think that would be insightful, and I would like to see more of that. I think that was my conflict with it, where it just felt like, a real desperate attempt to kind of recreate the magic from the first one, even though that wasn't really, doesn't seem to where she's at anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that.
Oh, here we go. So this is your first introduction to King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard?
I think it was the album before this.
Okay,
because I think they put out another one earlier this year. Yeah.
This is their 20th album in 10 years.
Yeah.
Depending on how you count it. They've got some like remix stuff, and then they released 3 more albums after this in October, which I listened to one of them, or like the start of it, and I was like, I kind of checked out. They're getting more like jazz rocky and jam bandy almost, where it's like, I like the gritty scrap metal sound of...
So you like their more metal stuff?
I do. I like the high energy stuff. It's probably like 5 records ago by now, but Infest the Rat's Nest. That's the one I'm super into.
Yeah.
I want to hear that, where it sounds like you're on a fucking rocket ship with Rob Zombie, or this stuff. There's a little of that here, where this kind of feels like they're taking you on the whole journey of like everything they've done the past 10 years.
Yeah.
Especially that opening track, which is 18 minutes long. That was probably the highlight for me. But once they start doing like the acid pop and rap songs, I'm like, okay, I don't really need that.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, but I'm not with you on the intro track.
Yeah?
Like, I almost didn't make it past that. I was so frustrated with it. I felt like that song was holding me hostage.
Yeah, I can see that.
It had a few themes to it that were like, I guess, holding the song together.
Yeah.
But it really just felt like an 18-minute jam. And, honestly, I feel like I've turned on this band already in the little time that I've spent with them.
Was it been a week, 2 weeks?
I know. It really hasn't been
I'm
that
over
long.
them. Fuck them.
Man, it's tough. That's probably not enough time, but there is this sense of how I saw this quote from someone. I think it was a recent interview with Bad Bad Not Good.
Oh, yeah.
And one of them said something about how music all just seems so much closer than it used to be. Like everything seems, I think what he means is the borders between genre are just not as defined. Oh, yeah. And I think you see that with a lot of younger bands that are like, we're going to be this for a song, or we're going to do this now, you know? And I don't want to be a person that doesn't appreciate that, but I do get the feeling sometimes that not enough thought is put into the song itself, and it's this broader consideration of, are we replicating this genre that we've heard well enough? And I feel like that even with King Gizzard's metal songs, which I think are pretty fun, and like I'm someone that has quite an affinity for like thrashy metal music.
Yeah.
But sometimes, and I feel like this is an uncharitable take, but sometimes I feel like they are doing impressions of records that I heard 10 or 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's a costume party.
Dude, it really, yes, like cosplay comes to mind, you know?
No, for sure.
And I don't want to I feel like I'm just lumping in this general millennial Gen Z attitude, which again, I am a part of. Like, the record I put out definitely goes to different genres and is kind of just like, I don't fucking know. Like, I'll do some of this now.
Right.
But I don't know. That is something that has really stuck out to me with a lot of bands. I think King Gizzard kind of epitomizes that in a way, this record especially.
For sure. Infest the Rat's Nest definitely borrows a lot of stuff, but it's stuff that I like, so I'm okay with it. The record before that, was it Fishing for Fishies? It just sounds like a T-Rex record, which is cool. I like T-Rex, but yeah, it's impressive that they're able to put out this much material, but kind of like you said, are you just recycling genre tropes and like...
That's what it feels like at times to me.
Yeah.
And I don't want to unfairly assume that is like them putting less effort into their music, but I don't know.
I do think it's...
That's what we're saying, though, as we're getting some of that vibe.
I do think it's an ability, though. Like, it is... I don't think anybody could just go out and, like, hop between genres this seamlessly and at least put, like, a record of material out. I feel like we've seen other bands try that, and it just doesn't work.
You can tell they really only had, like, 7.
Yeah, we had an idea of, like, okay, let's do this. Fuck, what are we going to do for the rest of the record?
Yeah.
But this, like... They commit to the bit for sure.
They do.
Another band that's usually pretty consistent for me, and you'll notice by the Trail of the Dead. I've liked pretty much everything they've put out for quite some time, but this record just, it feels again like it's just a jam session. Even the opening track, let me see what it was called. The opening track is Our Epic Attempts. So it's just like warning you, hey, we're just going to try some shit here. If you want to listen to our practice, we're going to release it as an album. 71 minutes. Strap in.
Oh.
They've kind of been doing this for a little bit where they're just experimenting and seeing where their sound takes them, and they just haven't really landed anywhere. And since 2009, I think, was the last time they had a really, really solid record. So it's kind of a bummer. Again, another band I used to really dig, but this one definitely feels a little lost. Same with Murder by Death. I've always been a huge fan of their work, especially like their stretch in the 2000s, but this one, just super long song lengths with not much happening at all. It seemed like they were kind of going into more like instrumentally dense material again, and that's all kind of washed away with this one. Huge bummer.
I didn't stick with this one for long. I like the singing quite a bit.
He's a great vocalist.
But I'm typically not looking for something where it feels like the music is in service of the voice. That's how this felt to me.
We talked a little bit about Vince Staples.
That's probably higher for me.
Yeah, you liked it a little more.
I guess so. I mean, I think at the time I was with you, and then for some reason he just like keeps making it back onto playlists, and there's certain songs, it's not the whole album, but there's certain songs that I like to come back to. I still haven't checked out much of Vince Staples' other stuff, but is he typically going for this kind of, like with production, is his stuff more of in this like synth pop lane of hip hop that's more popular now?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, he really pushes it on Big Fish Theory. That's my favorite record of his. I think that was 2017.
Okay.
Yeah, that one sounds like fucking Blade Runner rap. Like it's very futuristic sounding. And that's where this feels like, to me, this feels like very like throwback 2000s era rap. In comparison, at least, to what that was. So
interesting.
It might be a little bit of why I'm more down on it, because I like the direction he was going in, and now he's veering towards this. And
yeah,
it's a little bit of a disappointment, but
interesting.
I could see that. I've had some growers definitely on here where the rest of the album doesn't really hold up, but there are a few tracks that keep me coming back to the band. So I'm like, how do you weigh 8 tracks that you hate over 3 that you're just constantly listening to? Do we want to talk about Arcade Fire? I think they're on the verge of being canceled. We might just want to skip them.
I feel like, there's a card on the field or whatever.
Yeah. Referees are reviewing.
Flagrant foul, possibly. So they might be disqualified.
Jury's out. Yeah, they might not. Wishmaster's too kind. They don't deserve to be called Wishmasters.
No.
Not at this point. So the middle tier, I think, we've got like 50 total. A lot of middle tier. 53. Wow. All right. Oh, and I haven't even been saying the numbers. That's all right. That's a tease. You can go to the website, internetkilledthevideostore.com, and get the whole rundown of everything we've talked about and haven't.
Right. This is just an appetizer.
Exactly. It's a sampler. So the middle tier, since it's the most plentiful, and there are some good stuff in here every once in a while. It's not bad. It's all right. It's these are the Subways. You can find them pretty much anywhere. Decent ingredients. It's not
talking the rest. Okay,
too bad for you. Yeah,
just making sure.
Not the transportation.
Yeah,
we don't have public transportation here in Fort Wayne.
No. Yeah, CTA would be lower on this list for me.
No, this is the sandwich shop. Nothing to do with Jared either. That would be lower as well. Let's keep him out of there. So the middle tier. Open Mike Eagle, that was another one that fell off pretty hard for me. He was one of my favorite dudes in hip-hop for a while, but this record just feels way less passionate. Like, he even alludes to it. One of the songs, I think, is like, I retired and then decided I didn't.
Oh.
So, like, I think he's definitely struggling with the stagnant state of his career a little bit. And we talked a little bit about features on rap albums. He's got so many features on his record where it's just like, did you even want to do this, man? And the one dude,
party record.
Yeah, what is it? Video Dave. I do not like Video Dave, and he's on like 3 or 4 of the songs.
Huh.
And so it's like, I just want to hear Open Mike Eagle. I don't care about Video Dave.
I've never heard Video Dave before.
Get him out of here. We got Earl Sweatshirt. I think we talked a little bit about that earlier this year.
We did. Yeah, it's funny. That was not too far from when we were reviewing Vince Staples, and they're both in kind of that same crew, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think I errantly called Earl Sweatshirt Tyler, the Creator's little brother, but there's nothing actually to that.
Gotcha.
That was just a rumor I'd heard and repeated as fact, as you do in the year 2022. But yeah, sleepy talk rap. That's been a running theme, especially along the lower tiers here. Vince Staples, Earl Sweatshirt, Denzel Curry coming up. Spoiler alert.
Rapping from the Cot got real big.
Yeah.
And then I feel like people were like, well, that was fun. I mean, I still like Lil Yachty.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of been Earl Sweatshirt's thing the whole time. Like, he's never been somebody that's like, I mean, if you do compare him to Tyler, where he's barking at you like DMX, Earl's real slow, has a really focused, concentrated draw, but like, I don't know, this just sounds bored.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I think that's another one of the dangers of having a bunch of features. The features on Earl's album sound so much more energetic and enthused to be a part of it, where it's Earl's like, yeah, I guess I'll do this song with you guys.
It's like, Earl, you invited us over.
Right, yeah. You're going to bed already, Earl? All right. See you later.
You're not even going to get up to do the take?
Right.
Put my bed in the booth.
Yeah, I think the Arm & Hammer song, we might as well start the Billy Woods love early.
Oh, yeah.
The song where Arm & Hammer feature, that was my favorite song on the Earl record. So they're putting out a lot of stuff, old backwoods records. So you listen to Pool Kids. What'd you think of these guys?
Pool Kids.
And girls, I should say.
Yeah, right. Because I did think the singer was pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. Christine Goodwin, really good lyrics. This is kind of like the emo album of the year frontrunner for a lot of people. But
okay, I could see that.
I don't know. The music style kind of veering all over the place didn't really land with me.
Yeah, it did kind of feel like seeing what sticks, trying some, and I appreciate the variety and trying different stuff, but yeah, it didn't necessarily feel like a very clear concept of the song was conceived before writing.
Yeah.
So you're kind of left with some of these weaker elements. Like some of the guitar work is pretty good, but I think sometimes it leaves you with you confront it a little too much.
Yeah.
When the vocals drop out.
Right. It's almost like Mad Libs. Like, okay, what are we going to put here? Let's get some emo tap guitars. Okay, what about here? Let's do some weird heavy metal harmonics.
Yes.
Like
kind of like decisions that you could see being made like in the studio to fill out the song a bit more or something.
Yeah, I'd be curious how they went about constructing this, because it feels very much like she wrote a bunch of songs and then they added music to it.
Right. I'd be curious to see how it plays out live.
That
because
too, yeah.
It is something where you're kind of relying on a certain guitar effect to carry a song or something, or maybe something that you won't be able to replicate so easily in a live setting. But overall, I did enjoy this.
Yeah.
Listened to it, kept coming back to this throughout the year.
More than a mid? Maybe.
It might be higher in the mids for me.
Yeah.
But I think mid is good. Like,
where we got it? Like 93? Yeah, that's pretty low.
It was a good year.
It was a good year. It was a very good year. Soul Glow was the other one that the punk community is really big on.
Okay.
And they do some cool stuff like integrating hip hop and hardcore together, which is unique. Like
you don't hear it often.
No.
They've got a very unique sound for sure.
And it reminded me a little bit of like Bad Brains in that way.
Yeah.
Trying to merge these two worlds. And even speaking of Bad Brains, like I can handle their high pitched screaming, but the vocalist killed it for me on Soul Glow.
Same. I think part of it too is, dude, you gotta know when to like take a break.
Yeah.
The whole album
it's like
is
an air
this
horn.
dude. Yeah, this dude does not stop. And like that in itself is impressive because he's just going 100 miles. He has like two speeds, which is like 100 miles per hour.
Yeah.
With every syllable. And then kind of a more drawn out, but still just like pushing his voice harder than what you really want to hear someone's voice do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It's got so much like style and character, and you do not hear this combination with hardcore very often. And so I appreciate that about it. And there were like a few that I picked out for a playlist.
Yeah.
There are a couple that like are a bit catchier than others.
Yeah.
Where I feel like there is a little bit of space in the vocal placements, so you can actually have like some catchiness. But yeah, man, I'm very not a fan of when the vocalist just does not take a break.
Yeah.
It's not appealing to me.
I don't think I've been saying numbers this whole time.
That was
Tease
86, again. Right? Soul Glow was 86.
85. I don't know. I'll probably change it by then too.
Mm-hmm.
Father John Misty. This one we talked about a little bit. You came back around and listened to it. What'd you think of it?
Was this the one that I liked? I can't remember.
I don't know.
We talked about it. There was one where I felt like his lyrics were a bit funnier and just like carefree and
pure comedy. I think we talked about.
That's the one.
Where he's like,
how long ago was that?
That was 2017. That was 2 albums ago. That one's good. I like that one. This one, he's kind of just doing like typical like, roaring 20s old Hollywood tropes of piano man stuff, and he's a really good musician. Like it sounds really good, just the songs aren't as interesting. That was a bummer. There's a Lucid 76. He's okay. He needs Billy Woods to buoy him.
Okay.
The features really made it a decent album. I don't think it would have been a mid without all the features of Billy Woods and Quale Chris coming in to help lift stuff.
Oh gosh.
Because there's a couple where I'm just like, this is not good. Ghoulies was bad. I don't need to hear that again. He's a great counterpart to Billy Woods, so I'm glad they have each other in Arm & Hammer because that's an awesome project.
Yeah.
What else do we got? We talked about Wilhelm. They're down here at 71. They Hate Change was a cool idea, but I don't feel like they're quite there yet, where they do like really industrial electronic beats with like dirty South hip hop.
Yeah.
So it's like a Death Grips Goes to Atlanta type thing.
Is that how you felt about it?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Which I think sometimes it's a little too contrasty to work, where like the slow drawl of the lyrics kind of clashes with the fast percussion.
Yeah.
But I think it could really be cool if they get there. Like there's a couple songs where it does click, especially like the end of the album, Perm and X-Ray Specs. Yeah, those two songs are great.
Yep, both made it into my playlist along with Reversible.
Yeah.
Reversible keys. I think that one's more instrumental. Yeah, no, this album does not start off well.
Yeah.
I think the first song is like a minute long and it has a fade out, which is just like the least confidence inspiring way to start an album to me.
Yeah.
That's some personal nitpicks and stuff, definitely. I don't know why I felt like I had to open with dragging them down like that, because I think this album's really cool.
Yeah.
And I totally agree. I think I can't wait to hear what they come up with after this. I feel like it is deceiving. It's a very subtle album, but like if you listen to it closely or listen with some headphones on, like the production is fucking sick.
Yeah.
It's really good. I like the contrast of the two singers. I think they both do a good job.
Yeah.
One of them kind of reminds me of Big L a little bit, which is definitely a good thing.
For sure.
I miss Big L. But yeah, definitely like harkens back to some older stuff. And in a year of really good hip hop, this definitely stands out amongst that. This would be probably like top 10 hip hop albums for me this year.
Yeah, I'd say it's probably right there.
Yeah.
We got 66. We got Fontaine's DC.
Yes. Okay.
It's very goth rocky, kind of Ice Age vibes.
I thought the music was cool. Each song felt like it had a pretty clear thesis to me and justified itself, except for like there's one where he's just singing along with a accordion.
Yeah, there's a couple that are just gratingly long.
Yes.
And just aimless.
Yeah, that song was literally the same like two chords on an organ and him singing along a melody with like that's not too much different from those two chords.
Yeah.
There were a couple strange points in the album like that. Overall, I don't know, man. Singers are tough for me. That's not where my head's at typically when I'm listening to a song.
Yeah.
And so if you're like, I don't know, the vocals really draw you in a way that I don't find pleasant.
Yeah.
And I'm not quite sure what the singer is going for. Like, I think his voice is good, but then at times it seems like he's intentionally wavering from the key, and I don't like that.
Yeah. I think that's what kind of reminds me of Ice Age. Is it sounds like just some drunk post-punk dude in a pub somewhere, and like it gets the closer is the worst for me. That Nabokov, that song was bad, but Jackie Down the Line, that was like one of my favorite songs of the year. That song is really tight.
Okay.
But yeah, it's real inconsistent because there are definitely a few that I could go the rest of my life without hearing again.
There were some earlier on the album where I was like, this is great.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I was sitting there listening to this band and kind of like, I think I was working on something on the computer and the volume just kept going up and down based on my phone based on how into it I was.
Right.
So they were quite, you know, it was a little rocky. We were going up and down a bit.
That'll probably be like technology in the future, right? Like your interest will gauge like how
loud the volume should be.
My grandpa had a car. It was like a Lumina in the early 2000s where like the volume would change by how fast you were driving. I feel like eventually they'll just put a chip in our head where it's like, I'm thinking of this song. I want it this loud. Oh no, I don't like this. Just turn it down automatically.
Oh man.
That's coming, right?
Yeah, we're pretty close to
Elon
that.
will get some chips in our head. He hasn't screwed anything up lately. Do you have much history with Cloakroom? They're Indiana boys.
Are they? No,
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of history.
They're one of the few bands I guess you could identify as like shoegazy that I really dig.
Yeah.
Because they kind of pull it into some interesting directions.
Yeah.
This record particularly felt like kind of a tug of war with like, I don't know who writes the songs, but it felt like somebody really wanted to stay with the shoegazy stuff and somebody really wanted to get into like crunchy, slowcore, hum terrain. I wanted more of that, and I felt like I was stuck in between this custody battle and nobody really gets what they want. It's almost every other song, honestly.
Or even within the songs. They kind of, I don't have the greatest lexicon for like sludge music, but I was really into Torch and like, you know, Sleep, like some of that classic stuff I know. Anytime I hear these fat ass guitars hard cut on a note and then the feedback is just like blaring in both speakers, it's like, that really reminds me of Torch. Like not in a bad way either. I'm sure there's a lot of bands that fuck around with, well, even like Converge fucks around with like that dirtier, you know,
super high gain
equipment in the recording more so than it would be if it was like Eric Clapton or something.
Right.
I liked this. I thought it was a cool blend. I was, I think, a bit relieved when it started going in more of a shoegazy direction.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm a little bit the opposite of how you felt about it.
Okay.
I liked the vocals. I liked that they were able to get away with that kind of ethereal rock sound to it. But it works for even when they're musically kind of dipping into different styles, to have that kind of tying it together, I thought was nice.
Yeah, for sure. What about Denzel Curry? We got him down here at 64. Melt My Eyes, See Your Future.
Yeah, I think he ended up on my most recent playlist more than anybody.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know what it was. I think he brought the heat vocally in a way that you were wanting the other guys to.
Yeah, there's some spots like Walkin'. There's a tempo change in Walkin', and like it starts off real slow, and then when it starts to go into like the trap ending, I'm like, there's the Denzel I want. And then he doesn't show back up for the rest of the record. I'm like, damn it. But no, there are second to last songs really good. But yeah, I think I'm in the minority. I really liked Zoo back in like 2019, but that's just like throwback radio rap. Like, but he was really good at that. I enjoyed that, where this is a little more experimental.
Yeah.
And like, I appreciate it. He's growing his sound and doing different stuff, but I think just taste wise, it's not as in the same lane as what I'm looking for from him, I guess.
Interesting.
But he's definitely one of the best dudes out there.
Pretty great. I liked this album a lot. X-Wing was pretty cool. I like that song.
Yeah. X-Wing. X-Wing's good. We got Benny the Butcher, the whole Griselda crew. I don't know how you feel about West Side Gun, but he like is an audio stain on everything I hear him produce.
Really?
Yeah.
He's a producer?
Yeah. He's just always doing the Uzi tongue rolls on everything, and like his verse, like the production on Guerrero on this record is so good, and then his verse comes in and I'm just like, God, take this out, please. But yeah, overall, the record's pretty consistent. There's not as many misses as some of the other Griselda stuff, but it also doesn't have like a lot of highlights either. So I guess that's probably why it ended up in the middle tier. There's a lot of good stuff here. Like, I feel like mid is kind of a derogatory term, but I liked a lot of this stuff. There's a lot of good Subway sandwiches.
Do you want to like lightning round like a few out of here that you enjoyed? Any that you want to highlight in particular that you're feeling guilty about putting in mid?
Let's see. Mesa was a cool sound. Like, they're really drawn out long songs, so like it felt especially punishing when you got a bad one in there and there's only 7 songs on your album. But
yeah, the
overall sound was good. There was just a couple that just seemed to go on forever that I didn't like. And you talk about the fade out being a cop out. There's one that just does the same riff again and again, and then finally there's just a record scratch and the song is over.
Oh no.
Like, that is the ultimate cop out of ending a song. Yeah, Ethel Cain has a cool sound. Hers was just long for a debut record and just kind of like singular in tone. It's kind of like a Bible Belt Lana Del Rey.
Oh, interesting.
Has like a really cool voice, but yeah, it's a little much to take in all at once.
Preacher's daughter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's a lot of songs about wearing crosses and Take Me Down to the River.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a little more diversity would help. Celeste is always cool. They're a French, like, hardcore band.
Yeah.
I like their stuff. I didn't like this record as much as their other stuff. It just kind of felt like more of the same.
Yeah.
So didn't quite have the teeth of the other stuff. There's like a MySpace drive-through records hardcore resurgence trying to happen right now. Have you noticed that?
What is drive-through records?
Like Hawthorne Heights. Static Dress is what made me say that. I've got them up at 61. It's like, kind of like you said, like a costume party. Like, they are doing all the things that Under Oath did good and trying to cut out the bad. So you kind of appreciate it, but it's also like you're listening to a greatest hits type thing of just superimposing all these genre tropes together.
Yeah.
They do some cool integration of like Deftones style, like hardcore.
To have that in their vocabulary is good.
Yeah, just to give it something else. Marisol's the track that I think is probably the best on that record, where they kind of veer away from that. P.S. You're Dead does kind of the same thing, but they do more of like an electronic integration where they do kind of like program drums and stuff with hardcore, so that's pretty cool to hear.
Sure.
But they only do it a couple tracks where it feels like they're kind of doing the same thing of like copy paste 2006 scene core stuff.
Okay.
The title track is really cool, where they do some electronic stuff.
There's a lot of that. That was another thing I noticed a lot this year is even these groups, seemingly they're like a band, will have a couple songs where the electric drums take over, which That was interesting.
Yeah, and
sometimes good, sometimes bad.
I think we've gotten to a point where like the technology has reached a point where it's not obvious unless you know like to look for it.
Yeah.
Like if you don't have the ear for it, you don't necessarily seize on it the way you would in like
not if it's
a Linkin Park song.
Yeah, not if it's intentionally
Yeah.
being made to blend in, or depending on what samples they're using. But
it's a lot more organic. And I think that's a cool progression for people to make just in general. I think there's kind of a
stigma.
Yeah, or just like an ad nauseum feel to like, how many times can you make the same rock record? Shouldn't we be evoking some of our technology to progress what we're doing?
Oh, I see. Yeah.
I think that's a good thing to be doing.
Yes.
Instead of like fearing it taking over and turning everyone into Imagine Dragons. It doesn't have to be that. It can be a good thing.
I don't know. We'll have to ask Ben.
Yeah, that's where we miss Ben.
Yeah.
The Imagine Dragons insight. Action Bronson. It's pretty solid. That's the most thoroughly I've enjoyed one of his records in a while. It kind of felt like he was content just being like a content producer, whether it was making cookbooks or TV shows for Vice. This actually feels like he's a rapper again, so I was glad to hear that. We talked a little bit about Jack White. He's right at the cusp between the good tier and the middle tier. He's right there. Fear of the Dawn, at least. His other record made it into the fourth tier, so we'll get to that momentarily. Last two in Subway, we got Pup and Ghost. So you checked out Pup?
I did. Pup was the one where it was a little too cutesy for me. The album opens where he's like a computer.
Oh, yeah.
And he needs someone to download him or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, no.
Yeah. The album is called
The
Unraveling of Pup the Band.
Yeah.
And a lot of the lyrics are about like this band in like a creative midlife crisis. And a lot of the songs sound like that. So it's like...
And the album art is like perfect for that.
Yeah.
So,
is that intentional? Are you guys acknowledging that you are stuck? But yeah, Totally Fine was an awesome single. I really like that. But this made me retroactively like their older stuff better, I think.
I remember that. I do remember that, yeah.
Yeah, I listened to a lot of Morbid stuff after this, which was the record before this.
Mm-hmm.
I dig that one quite a bit. This one is probably their weakest so far, but it's still, 47, 46? That's not bad.
Still a good album.
Yeah, 48.
Yeah, it's still a fun album.
That's a good Subway sandwich. Ghost had some cool riffs. They've turned into just a straight up radio rock band, and I'm okay with that.
Okay. Did you ever figure out, or are you just kind of past the point of trying to figure out like what they're trying to say with their music?
Yeah, I don't really care. Like, that's not why I'm listening to this band. Like, there was, what was that? The 20s. That song was like, what the fuck? Is this like a MAGA anthem? What is this song?
That's what I was referring to, because I remember you taking issue with that.
No, I mean, I think the album in and of itself is about like a falling empire, so I don't think it's I think it's supposed to be sarcastic, but it's hard to know that like a dude in death metal face paint is being sarcastic. So, but I guess who seriously goes around singing "Grab 'em by the hoo-haws"?
I feel like it was always hard to tell with Ghost if they were taking any of it seriously.
Yeah, for sure.
From the get-go.
They're very theatrical. Yeah. They're very performative. Cool. But yeah, I mean, I'm okay with them being like the big radio rock band of our time. It's better than like fucking Buck Cherry or something.
Yeah, fuck yeah, dude.
All right, so now we're into the fourth tier. These are the good, not the best. We had a lot of really good albums this year, so this tier is named after a really good professional wrestler who's never like looked at as one of the greats, because when he was introduced, he was just The Undertaker's brother. And when you're The Undertaker's brother, you're always going to be in The Undertaker's shadow. So this is Kane. This is our Kane tier.
Yeah, dude. I didn't know Kane was The Undertaker's brother.
What?
I don't know much about
gimmick.
Wrestling.
I was going to say, I didn't know you knew who Kane was, so I was surprised you got that far.
No, I know Kane.
Just from his political work, or I think he's a governor somewhere.
Oh, damn. I may have known that.
He doesn't wear the mask anymore, at least in office. But yeah, a lot of good ass-kicking records this year. These are the Canes. Where do you want to start? I'll let you pick the next one.
Let's start at the bottom at 46.
46. Blue Rev by Always.
Yeah.
Always.
Always.
Yeah. This one got hyped up quite a bit. I really didn't see the warrant for it until I was about 7 tracks in, and then the personality really grips you. And it was so much of a drastic change that I listened to it twice, like in a row. I was like, did I miss something on these first tracks, or like what is it that's turning me off about that?
Right.
And I'm so into the second half of this record. I don't know if it's just like there's too much distortion on the guitars to where like the vocals are getting drowned out. But yeah, the second half of the record gelled with me so much more than the first half.
It's funny you bring up the guitars. I don't think it's the guitars, but there is something off about the production in the beginning that is drowning her out.
It's just too much noise.
It feels like a sound bed, and it doesn't always work very well. Maybe it's like overly compressed too, because it feels like some of those elements just pop out at random.
Yeah, it's like you're listening to it in a bad, like, reflective basement where all the sounds are just bouncing all over the place.
Yeah, man. And already that's got to be a hard type of music to produce, because they're trying to make everything sound really big.
Yeah.
There's reverb on everything. There's like some slapback delay on her voice. So I'm sure that's tough to work with. But yeah, I really like the singer. Almost reminded me of like a more subdued Stevie Nicks in a way.
Yeah.
And I mean that is like a big compliment.
Right.
I love Stevie Nicks. So, but not many of these songs really stick out to me at this point in a way I would like them to. Also, I think part of that is like the drummer isn't doing shit on this album. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
And maybe you don't for that type of music, but like it is either 4 on the floor or not playing at all. Like it's just the rock drum beat or nothing. Like there's not a fill. There's not a drum roll. That struck me as kind of odd.
I think that may be part of why I like the second half of the record so much, is that when the vocalist is allowed to be front and center, that's when the band is at their best.
Yeah.
Like I want to hear her driving the songs. So like Velveteen and Tile by Tile, those songs are so much more distinct to me than any of the stuff where it's just a sound noise pile.
I agree. Velveteen was really good.
All right. Well, right above that, we got Emotional Creature by Beach Bunny. Her stuff's always really good. I think this was one of the rare instances where like the electronic stuff didn't really work for me. I liked what she was doing. Entropy was a really good opener. She had a lot of really good energy, but then there's the instrumental track Gravity, and after that it's all really slow and kind of synthy, and I'm not a fan of that recipe, at least on the last like 3-4 tracks. But the opening's good. I still think she's an awesome songwriter, so it's a little bit of a mixed bag there too, but I think the highlights outweigh the negatives. Innate Passage by Elder was really tight. That one just came out. Spacey prog rock stuff. So that was a fun listen. That was a good record. Probably one of the better metal albums of the year. We didn't have a ton.
No. We've only got a few on this list.
We got Conway the Machine.
Yeah.
God Don't Make Mistakes. Another Griselda dude. His record was a lot less consistent than Benny the Butcher's, but the highlights were so much better.
Yeah.
Like so much more stressed. He's got some awesome like song of the year stuff. But then there's also like, I don't know, the first like 6 tracks of the record you could just throw away. So very inconsistent.
What did you think of the next one on the list?
Brutus?
Yeah.
I liked.
Have you listened to Brutus before?
I had not. Had you?
Yeah, randomly, friend of the show, David Alger, showed me this band just like out of the blue on probably a year or 2 ago. And I liked that album quite a bit. And yeah, I dove right into this. This is like an easy A for me. Kind of reminds me of like some of the bands I used to play in a little bit, and like reminiscent of that stuff in a cool way, but also clearly not just recreating the old and tired tropes of like melodic hardcore or something. The singer is so good, and I feel like she's really kind of stretching out on this album. I've heard her do some of this stuff before, but she was kind of working in some more like falsetto singing and just like more dynamicism overall of like going from screaming to singing and stuff like that. Yeah, she just fucking kills it on this record, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Have you seen like videos of them?
No.
Because I looked him up. I had to see like who this band was. It's a 3-piece. Yeah. And she plays drums.
I did not know that. That's pretty cool.
Right. That blew my mind. I was like, what?
I was picturing like a 4-piece.
Yeah.
With her singing. The guitar work is very notable. I get drawn into that, and it's not like insane shredding or anything. It's just well constructed riffs, good well timed post rock delay, and I feel like the singer has the foresight to like let some of that stuff speak for itself. It's kind of what I was missing from Soul Glow, is like she will take a big break, and now I get it. She's trying to play the fucking drums, and she'll take a big break at the right time, and just let this speed beat roll in. It's like, oh my gosh, dude, I feel like doing a circle pit right now. I'm just in my car by myself. I'm 32. Are you serious?
I can't imagine the fucking energy of just not only playing the drums for this band, like you're already got to be out of breath, and then you're just fucking belting out these notes in between that. That's insane to me.
I was just watching a video of like Anderson .Paak do his thing and play drums, and that's like hard enough, you know? He's like, he's doing a great job at both. But this is like, I mean, this is a much more intense style of music.
Yeah.
And she's killing it.
We got that at what, 37? Skip up a few here.
There they are.
We got old Black Midi, 34.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun, but I don't know that I care for storyteller Black Midi.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I still love this band. Definitely come like around to this album a bit more than where I was at with it earlier in the year.
Yeah.
I'm still going back to Cavalcade more than this one.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to realize there are certain things about Black Midi that are not really my favorite. And they are becoming more of a few songs here and there versus an entire album band for me. Which is okay. That's what most things are nowadays.
That, what is it, Sugar Zoo, where they have like the boxing intro. The bass line on that song is insane. Like I just, listening to it, I'm like, how does he even play this? Like,
and I love that. Anytime they're doing something and I can't figure out how they're physically playing it, with which the drummer does quite a bit. Like that guy is just a madman. It's so good.
Did you listen to Pharmacist?
Is this your Pharmacist or like I don't know.
No,
I tried looking him up, and no, I didn't realize that your Pharmacist was so good at guitar. Like,
it's insane. I feel like metal has the most like subgenres of any other genre.
Probably.
But I don't think I've ever heard anyone do like prog death metal. And these dudes do it so seamlessly.
Yeah.
And it's really fucking interesting. Like it can get a little redundant, but I'm so interested in like where they take things that I don't care.
It was keeping me pretty gripped.
Yeah.
Like I was listening for what felt like a while and just having a good time with it. And then I look and I'm on like song 3.
Yeah.
And there's just so much variety packed in those first 3 songs. And like the entire record, really.
It's solid, man.
Yeah. Definitely. This is the most guitar forward album of the year, I would think, at least out of our list.
Probably, yeah.
Like it is really front and center in a cool way. I like this album a lot. I'm going to be coming back to this one quite a bit.
Do we want to talk about Mason's record, or are we going to save that for when he comes in?
We'll save most of it for when he comes in.
Okay.
Let's see. Number 31, which we've both said that he would be higher on like a personal list, but we have to try to like take some kind of bias into consideration here. For the listeners that don't know, Mason Hunter is a good friend of ours.
Yeah, you were in a band with him for a while.
I was in a band with him. I've been friends with him since preschool. And, you know, Ryan and I have been friends with him since, we were all like 14 or something, going to shows together and stuff. So it's kind of hard to divorce all that from like how much you like your friend's album. But trying to set all that aside, it's pretty fucking good.
Yeah, I like it a lot. And like, I feel bad. Like, I think I texted you. I'm like, I really like this record. I'm so happy he's putting music out again. But is it shitty to say you have like the 31st record and be like, yeah, I love it, dude?
I don't know. There's a lot of good stuff this year.
Right.
He'd be higher on personal list for me. He's top 10 for me this year. Yeah. Like, I think that album is great. I don't want to say too much about it before we have him on, other than like people should just go check that out.
Yeah.
If they haven't.
What are your comps? Because like, I feel like he does such a weird mix. Yeah.
Because, well, I mean, he grew up listening to like pretty classic stuff like the Beatles, and I think you can definitely hear just some of that in him, which I know like Animal Collective was a big influence for him at a certain point. I don't know if it still is. I haven't spent enough time with that band to know if like he sounds like Animal Collective.
Yeah, those were the two I picked out. I would say like Paul McCartney meets Animal Collective.
Nice. I think he'd be happy with that.
So yeah, Which I know those are like two massive bands, so
There you go.
I'm trying to like temper expectations of like, yeah, this is the next Paul McCartney.
Hell yeah, he is.
What do we got? Pusha T's 30.
Pusha T's back. Yeah.
It's good. Like we said,
It's good.
it's solid. Undeath, we got another metal record in there.
Yeah.
Ton of riffs.
This one wasn't like as big for me as Pharmacist for some reason.
Yeah.
It felt much more in like a solid death metal lane.
Yeah, it wasn't as experimental for sure.
Right.
It's kind of just wearing the costume and hitting the notes, you know. It's like
Do they wear costumes?
I don't know. A death metal shroud.
Yes. Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of like a little more evil version of Power Trip.
Okay.
But I mean, that's not a bad thing at all.
No.
28, another friend of the show, Signals Midwest. I like that one a lot. That's one of the better punk albums this year. They've been around forever, and like one of those bands where like you'll like songs, but I feel like this is probably their most cohesive album. So it's cool to see them continuing to grow this many years into it. So,
Awesome.
27, we got Death Spell. Did you ever circle back to that? Is that too
Dude.
low?
No, yeah, I've circled back like 100 times. I fucking love this album,
It's
dude.
too low.
And it's so weird because like it's been a while. I feel like some of my favorite stuff this year is like punk, hardcore, and metal albums.
Yeah.
Those are the ones I'm getting excited talking about right now.
Yeah.
Which is weird. I'm regressing.
I think those are the two that have been lacking for me. Or minus a lot of indie and hip hop.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. This might be my favorite Deathspell Omega album.
Yeah?
And I really love this band. I have a tattoo of this band's lyrics. Like
I didn't know that.
They're no joke to me.
See, I don't even know what they're singing about either. They
Oh,
could be...
you don't want to know, dude. We'll get depressed. I don't know how old these guys are, and I don't know if it's ageist of me to be like, they're in their 40s and they're still making good music. But like, dude, it's hard. You know? You have so many more ideas when you're young, and this sounds like an album full of ideas. Like the guitar work is just great. And I always love their guitar work, but it's just like, it's really inspiring to see someone bring this kind of sophistication, however many records in a row. I just feel like they're always on like a steady upward progression of changing things enough that they're not, well, I don't know. This band is solid as fuck. If you don't know this band, you should check them out. It's just so good.
This is a record prime for repeat listens too, just because they always pack so much in. Like, you'll listen to it twice in a row and catch stuff you didn't hear the first time.
Absolutely.
Just because there's so many layers and just so much going on, especially like one of your criticisms for some of the heavy stuff has been the percussion. The percussion here is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
It is.
Even though it's some of their...
Never take the easy road.
No.
It's kind of the frustrating thing because you do want your favorite musicians and artists you like to continue to grow. Mm-hmm. But I like the record before this, and I was just like stuck in the furnaces. Yeah. Like, that's what I want to hear more of.
Okay.
And I think that's why maybe I'm a little more reluctant to this record. But yeah, I could definitely see myself coming back to this and moving it up the more I listen. Final Light. We had a weird collaboration between Perturbator and, was it Cult of Luna? Is that the singer?
I think so. Both great acts in their own right.
Yeah, and a lot of times it can feel like the inclusion of synth into metal stuff is kind of just ornamental.
Yeah.
Or vice versa, like you just have a growler on top of your synthwave band. Mm-hmm. But this was like really felt like a true collaboration.
Yeah.
And I was blown away by it. I really liked it. It is a little long, but I mean, I was happy to re-listen to it 4 or 5 times, so I don't know I can complain about the length.
Yeah, that's a solid collaboration of people.
Yeah, I hope they do more.
That would be cool.
This is not a one-off.
Yeah, same.
Similar vein, we got Genghis Tron. 23.
Dude.
They've been hiding for a bit, but this feels like they haven't really missed a beat, man.
No.
It was really solid.
Yeah, it's pretty different. Did you listen to any of their earlier stuff, like Board Up the House or anything like that?
No, I hadn't. This was kind of my introduction to them, and like, yeah, it's pretty relentless too. Like, you think you hit the apex and the next song's even grander, and it's phenomenal. I was a big fan of this one.
It's very cohesive too.
Yeah.
I feel like there aren't a ton of ideas about harmony taking place on this album. You kind of run into those similar like singing backup tones, like creating these major chords and stuff.
Yeah.
But it works. It sounds great. And yeah, like we were just saying, there's just kind of a lack of bands that really integrate synth successfully into like metal or harder rock. These guys have been doing it for a while. I remember on Board Up the House, I think all those drums were programmed. I think it was maybe like a smaller band at that point. These drums sound live to me.
Yeah.
And I think that's like a cool move for them. And it still has enough of like the synth pads or arpeggios in the background that it really differentiates itself because of that. And yeah, they've got some really confidently written like 6-minute songs on this album that I don't think overstay their welcome at all. So
no, that was one of the things you said earlier about like songs that kind of just feel like you're just trying to elongate them. These feel like they use every bit of time. Like they did not feel like there's any unnecessary stuff packed in there.
I agree.
A full 6 minutes of chaos.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you get around to listen to the new Nas?
No, man, shit.
It's real good.
Yeah,
I'm stoked on this.
I've been a fan of Nas for a while. Like, I didn't jump onto Illmatic when it was released because I think I was like 2 or something.
94, yeah.
But yeah, in my early 20s, I dipped back to Nas and realized, holy shit.
Yeah.
I mean, Illmatic is like one of the best East Coast hip hop albums of all time. And like keep checking in with him over the years, and he drops singles here and there that are good. I don't know if it's been a while since I checked in with like a whole Nas album.
His discography is real spotty. If you talk about like 90s hip hop, everybody always says, Tupac, Biggie, Jay-Z.
Yeah.
Just because Nas doesn't have the longevity. So to see him kind of come back around and be like hitting another stride here is really cool.
That is cool, because I mean, I would honestly put him above all of those guys.
Yeah.
Personally.
At least Illmatic, I think is the best from the 90s. And now, like, he's working to elongate his legacy while Snoop Dogg selling Coronas and Martha Stewart merch, and Ice Cube's making Are We There Yet 4? So, hip-hop and comedy are two things that age like milk. So it's cool to see him like actually stick it out and have a second run when you see a lot of guys from that same era just
not really knowing how to
age.
Right, yeah. I guess they're kind of the first ones to do it in a way, so it's hard to know how to like age gracefully as a hip hop artist.
Right. 20. We got another metal one, Cave In.
Yeah, Heavy Pendulum. These are some older dudes too, right? Hasn't Cave In been around for a long time?
Yeah, so my introduction to this band was actually talking to Dan Ozzie about Sellout, and he was going to do a whole Cave In chapter, and I was like, I didn't even realize they were a band that was like fit the mold of the 2000s era Sellouts.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I went back and listened to some of their older stuff after I listened to this, and I was not a fan of it. I like this direction the band has taken a lot more.
So this isn't what they typically sound like.
At least not on the few that I listened to. I can't speak to, much of their discography, but
I feel like this is a band I kept trying to get into back in the day because in the Christian hardcore scene, they were a big deal, I think. Or at least with like the few people in our local Christian hardcore scene were like, Cave In is sick. And I never got into them, but I was into this album. I liked it quite a bit.
I think White Silence was the one I tried, and then Antenna. I just didn't really dig it that much, where this almost sounds like Baroness. Like, this stuff is really cool. Was that Floating Skulls, Searchers of Hell? There's a lot of really good tracks on this.
Speaking of synth metal again, like, it's not a key element of the music, but it's definitely enhancing things in a subtle but good way.
Yeah, it gives it some atmosphere.
Yes. Yeah, it gives it a lot of depth. The guitars are fucking huge, which is nice. Yeah, it kind of comes back to the Baroness comparison for sure.
So 19, we got the other Jack White album, Entering Heaven Alive.
This is the one that's like got some more acoustic instruments. And
very ballad heavy. We talked about it a little bit earlier, so we won't go super in depth. But yeah, I think we were both surprised to find that the more acoustic ballad album was the one we preferred.
Yeah, always.
Yeah, very good. Very cool to see Jack White putting out good stuff.
Yeah, I think he did like that whole album himself, which is really cool.
18, I got the Beths from New Zealand.
Yeah.
They were a late addition.
They're cool.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard this band before, but I don't know. I feel like there's an absence of like catchy songs this year.
Yeah.
And this was a bit more catchy for me in a good way.
It's so polished. Like, it sounds like they've been around forever.
It sounds like songs that you wrote a while ago and then had enough time to be like, oh, wait, but let's just throw in this tiny little riff here or this tiny little chord change. Yeah, man, really well constructed. I thought the vocalist / lyricist was really good. I felt like I was being made to confront the vocals on this, but not in a way that made me uncomfortable. They feel very front and center.
Yeah.
And some of that is like playing into the catchiness of like, sometimes it's not like the musical hooks, but like the lyrics themselves that are kind of drawing you in.
Yeah, the title track is so catchy. They're one of these bands that I kind of just found this year, and I'll go into Spotify and just shuffle their discography. Like, they've just got a ton of really solid material. So probably one of my favorite kind of new bands that I've stumbled into this year for sure.
It's got this real bittersweetness to it.
Yeah.
I'd say more sweet than bitter, but
like
because of some of the lyrical content and the chords they're choosing and stuff, it's happy sounding, but then has this hint of like sadness or melancholy to it that I really enjoy.
Yeah, it reminded me a little bit of Hop Along in that way. Just a little more upbeat and a little faster.
Okay.
16, we got Joyce Manor. That one grew on me, man. Like, at first I was like, okay, they're doing the return to your roots thing. Yeah. These aren't as good as their best songs, but, you know, they're not doing sleepy indie ballads anymore. Sure. So whatever. And then, like, you know, I'd be unloading the dishwasher, singing a song like, oh yeah, that was on the Joyce Manor record. So yeah, it definitely grew on me, even though it is, I think we talked about it, only like 20 minutes long or something. They're notoriously short songs always.
I'm having a harder time over the years committing to shorter songs and shorter albums.
No, I'm sorry, 20 minutes is too generous. This is 9 songs, 16 minutes. Just shaking your head in disgust.
You guys check those bounces before you uploaded them?
And the longest song is what, 3 minutes long? Yeah, it's good though. There's so many that I like. It just sounds so effortless. Like, I don't know. I'd love to just like hear like a scratch disc of all the ideas this guy has of songs. Or is this just like, hey, it's time to write an album. Here's the first 9 that I came up with.
Right.
Done.
Yeah. I could see that. I definitely agree. They feel like songs that wrote themselves, and I mean that in a good way.
15, I got Kendrick.
Yeah.
So I think we went, like 100 entries between Grammy nominees for Best Album.
It's Lizzo and then Kendrick.
I think so.
And no one else on our list made it. Jeez.
I think Father John Misty got nominated for something. I don't know if that was Best Album, but Kendrick definitely got a Best Album nod. I think I'm still kind of in the same place with it where I appreciate it, but it's not my favorite Kendrick.
Gotta admit, I'm not coming back to it a whole lot.
Yeah, I still haven't checked out, I think, the single that you told me about that isn't on the album.
Part 5. Yeah.
I still need to check that out. But yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. Kendrick's scaring me a little bit. I saw some pictures of his concert with this, and he's like got a ventriloquist dummy on his shoulder. And like, I appreciate you doing different stuff, but I don't want you to get too far into like, I'm an art house genius area. Like, I don't know that I want to see ventriloquism at my rap concert.
Yeah, that's an interesting. I wonder what that is about. This album feels like it is a step away from that, and I'm sure for some people it's not a step away. It is the sound art project that they never needed. It's not that for me. Like, I enjoy this album, and I probably will at certain points. Like, I've definitely highlighted a few in my head that I don't know if they're intended as singles. I don't know what on this album was intended as a single, honestly.
I think that's why they made a single that wasn't on the album.
Yeah. Well, I guess N95 was kind of... he had a video for that and stuff. Like, I don't know, man. Kendrick still has this way of putting rhymes together and, like, cutting back to, like, the way he like composes hooks and will like just kind of jump back to like the second line of like the hook or the verse when you're not expecting. And I don't know, he has these clever ways of using repetition in his songs. That's like a new thing about Kendrick that I've been appreciating lately.
Well, especially on this record, there are a lot of themes, not only in the same song, just throughout the record that kind of circle back and reemerge. It's very much like a therapy session almost, where these continual themes keep arising, and like, it's interesting. He's an incredible writer.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I had an emotional connection to like his personality around the time of this album, where I was like reading interviews with him and just listening to what he was saying on the album and trying to like conceptualize him as a person, kind of, it just in this weird way that I don't think I, say what you will about the album, I don't think I did that a whole lot this year with the other artists.
Yeah. There's something to be said too about the way he is probably like the most iconic hip hop artist right now.
Yeah.
And to be using the platform to do this kind of self-discovery and like normalize bettering yourself and stuff like that, as opposed to, things that Dave Chappelle and Kanye West and Kyrie Irving are doing with their platforms.
Sure.
Like, so even though it's not necessarily stylistically something I gel with, you have to kind of admire the direction he chose, because it's a really bold and like vulnerable place to put yourself in.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that.
14, we got old Meatwave.
I love this record. They're local to Chicago. They played there recently. I wasn't able to go, but like definitely going to be checking this band out. They've gotten me excited about dark punk rock again. I've been diving back into this one just as regularly as like Cave In and Death Spell and some of the others that I've been revisiting.
Yeah.
I don't know. This whole record has like not to go total Gen Z on you, but it has a vibe to it. Like, it has a really good vibe.
Yeah.
And there's a song called Ridiculous Car, which is great to begin with.
That's my favorite.
And then the next song has a line in it where he's saying something about a ridiculous car.
Yeah.
And that kind of like interconnectivity just sparks so much interest and intrigue. And I don't know, you got to hear the way this vocalist says ridiculous car. Like, something about that is just like, man, I could just listen to that like 2-second snippet of this song over and over. I don't know. I'm just totally there on a vibe level.
No, they're very, very conceptual. The Incessant. Did you get around to that one?
Was that one of the tracks, or?
No, that's the album they did before this.
No.
That one very similarly has like a storyline where like things reemerge throughout the record.
I love that.
They're really fucking good at that. Definitely like one of the most interesting voices in punk right now.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I'm going to try to make friends with them and get an interview. Hopefully we can get them on the show.
All right. 13, we got Heart to Gold.
Woo!
This one grew on me quite a bit,
it's a
too.
good album.
Yeah. Their vocalist, man, he is really dynamic.
Having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
He has that thing he does where he breaks up a word, not even by syllable, but just by whatever increments he pleases.
Yeah.
And just throws all these notes at it. It's really good. It's really just a great thing to listen to. Incredibly strong voice, but then also like working some of that vibrato in there at the right times and stuff, and right amount of rasp for this type of band, which is, I don't know, more like a indie punk type thing.
The one that I always liken them to is Say Anything.
Oh,
he reminds me a lot of them, his vocalist. But I mean, they do kind of like, a little more emo-y, where they do these slow progressions at the end of their songs and stuff. And that's always interesting.
I only listened to like early Say Anything when they were still pretty like pop punky.
That's all you need to.
Okay. All right. But yeah, I would say this band spreads out a bit more musically. Yeah. No, it's a fucking solid album.
All right. The last cane we have is Black Country New Road.
It's still not working for me. And this is another one where like you were a little with me before on, I don't know, some of this feels like maybe just like, what are they trying to do? Just get stuck in the algorithm or whatever? Is that still your take on it, or?
There are some songs that definitely, like the Billie Eilish song, and I think they name drop Black Midi on their last record. Yeah. The last record was a lot worse in my opinion. And I was like, okay, I don't know that I'm going to like this, but less than a year later, like I'm fully on board. Concord and Show Me the Place Where He Inserted the Blade. Those are the two that I've probably listened to more than any other song this year, just about.
Wow.
So yeah, the record isn't without its flaws. That's why it's probably not in the best, but there's some really, really cool standouts. And I feel like it's so smooth and so well constructed. It felt like they were trying to do a little bit too much on their first record, and kind of like when you first start playing guitar and join a band, you want to like write the hardest shit ever just to show people you can do it.
Yeah.
Whereas this, it just feels like, no, they're more concentrating on just constructing big, powerful songs.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of this is.
Which I think you need with a band this big. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what their live shows look like, but there's a lot of stuff going on the album.
Yeah, for sure.
On the recording, there's quite a few instruments there in that same, I would say even more so than Black Midi.
Yeah.
It feels like reminiscent of when fucking Wings or whatever would have like everyone over to record an album.
For sure. All right, so best of the best. We got the Gold Jackets. Here are Gold Jacket inductees. We got Drug Church.
Yeah.
Number 11. I still really enjoy that.
That was a cool one.
Some great tracks off of here. Detective Lieutenant, I think, is still probably the standout for me.
Okay.
It's a little slower than almost anything they've done, but I think the lyrics and the way the vocals wrap around the instruments is just so natural that I love it. I'm really, really excited about the way this band's progressed.
Yeah, they're dragging all the right stuff into the future with them. Feels like they just grabbed a handful of sludge rock and threw it in a pile of pop punk or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that's the most striking thing to me is that they feel like they could be kind of almost in like the same sludgy shoegazy vein that we were talking about earlier with who was it? Cloakroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit. The guitars definitely do.
Yeah, but it has this driving pop punk sensibility that, and that's like not a big genre for me. That's not something I care for typically, but like combined with this sense of doom that Drug Church brings to the table, it's so fucking good. It's like this right juxtaposition of happy and sad, or sane and insane.
Yeah.
Or something.
It's like they're writing super poppy, catchy songs, but just with the meanest instruments.
Yeah.
So it doesn't.
Right.
It doesn't
or just
sound
with like
super...
one, or just throwing in like a couple chords to be like, but is everything okay? Or is it totally not?
I still don't know if there's another band like this where like started out super hardcore and abrasive, and like the poppier they got, the more I like them.
Yeah.
There's not too many of them made the same progression like this.
That's typically the inverse.
Yeah, almost always. We got Freddie Gibbs at 10.
There he is.
Still coming back to that pretty frequently.
Oh yeah.
It's solid. I'm excited. I mean, he's been around forever, and you could kind of anticipate maybe him leveling off, but this feels like growth in a very cool, promising direction.
This has some of his best songs yet. I've been hearing Too Much all around Chicago.
That's the best,
like,
man.
Yeah, we're into it, man.
Right.
God damn. It's a good album.
I'm probably with you. I think Too Much is probably his best song.
It might be.
9.
There she is.
Yep, 9.
Fuck yeah, dude.
We got Charlie. You like this?
Yes, I do. I've been going back to it so much.
I thought you were out on it when we talked about it first.
Did I? Was I?
I thought you're like, yeah, it's a little too much of the same or something like that. I don't know. I got to re-listen.
Yeah, I could see me having that take.
There are a couple songs that gets a little repetitive, but for the most part, yeah, I've listened to this quite a bit.
It's kind
Did
of
we
pulling...
even say it? We just got excited. It's Charlie XCX Crash. We just both just shouted, yeah, there it is.
Yep. No, she's great. She's so much fun.
Yeah.
Like there's a song where she keeps saying, "I'm gonna make you mine. I'm gonna make you mine."
Yeah.
And then, but like subtly throwing in these little, "I'm gonna fuck you up."
Yeah.
Like, and then by the end of the song, it's just all, "I'm gonna fuck you up." And it's so good. I've never heard someone do that, but I really love that.
Yeah. No, that stretch, what is it? New Shapes to Baby. That's quite the stretch. Oh, and Lightning, even further. Like,
Lightning's really good.
2 to 8 is solid.
Some other ones.
You got good ones. Constant Repeat, Beg for You.
Baby is the one I was referring to.
Yeah,
Baby and Lightning are both really good. Yuck is fun.
Move Me has some really cool production stuff where just like all the instruments cut out and her voice is super clean. That stood out to me. Number 8, we got Beach House. I went back and forth. Like I listened to this top 10 quite a bit trying to get my order right. So this is a super long record. And the first 2 chapters of this album are phenomenal. I think it does wane a little bit near the end, but man, it's impressive to me that they were just this ambitious to tackle like a massive 20-track record for what I think it's their 8th record in. So I was pretty taken with this. So you've got 18 tracks, and I don't think there's like a skip until you get into disc 3.
Yeah, feels very well thought out from the beginning. It just feels like a very cohesive relationship between the composition and the production.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't feel like they showed up to the studio and were like, okay, you can make this shit sound good, right?
Right. It does some cool stuff too, with like a lot of cool percussion that you don't typically hear with this style of music. So
Cool.
there are a lot of similarities throughout the record, but they also take it into some interesting places where you get like crazy psych guitar solos and hi-hats and stuff that you don't normally hear. 7, we got Oso Oso, Sore
Yeah.
Thumb.
Oh, this band. Yeah.
They were kind of on the verge of like indie or punk, and this one they're fully embracing like the indie power pop stuff, and
Right.
I think it sounds tight. Describe You is awesome. Fly on the Wall. There's a lot of really good tracks here.
Mm-hmm.
It has kind of like a Gin Blossoms 90s alternative pop sound to it. I definitely dug it. 6 is Prince Daddy and the Hyena.
Yeah.
That was our inaugural album of the year 4 years ago, was Cosmic Thrill Seekers. This is their follow-up. It's less of like a concept album, but it kind of hinges on the singles, and the singles are really fucking good. Curly Q, Hollow As You Figured, a lot of really good songs on it. I think that's probably my punk album of the year.
It would be Drug Church for me.
Yeah.
I like this band a lot. I like this album a lot, but something about the sludgy, depressive nature of Drug Church works a bit better for me.
Yeah. So 5, we got old Beyonce.
Old Beyonce.
Did
She
you
probably
listen to
is
this
getting
track?
old at this point.
Yeah. What'd you think of it?
I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like you, I have not checked in with Beyonce very often.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I grew up with Beyonce,
Right.
and she's unavoidable to an extent.
Yeah.
And we've talked about her too. And it's interesting that she's coming up now, because we had a conversation about just, I think, using her as like the example of an artist who is not writing much of their own record. And you really can't tell how much they're writing because they have all these different producers and stuff. Does that detract from your positioning of this album, or do you think you can hear enough? Is there a point where you hear the confidence in the person enough to believe that they were reasonably involved with their album, or any kind of consideration of that nature? Or is it just, no, it's a good album overall?
I think for me, it's kind of like what we talked about with Kendrick a little bit. It's the choice to do this kind of bold, unexpected direction where it's like a crazy club anthem that doesn't really have singles, just really long, dancey, vulgar tracks.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't seem concerned with like selling herself at all. She's like, this is where I'm at. I'm going to make some crazy fucking music to dance to. I think just that choice and the curation of these songs is something to be admired.
Yeah.
I do see what people may be saying as far as like, there's not a ton of depth to the lyrical content, but I don't think that's what I'm coming to this style of music for anyways.
Right.
And I think just what she is singing about isn't something you typically hear, like big pop stars with their own fragrance lines singing about doing coke and fucking their husbands. And I could see how the confidence could turn some people off, but I'm more impressed that she's willing to be out there and that it succeeds so thoroughly. I don't know that I've seen like a big pop star this confident and this thorough in execution since like Prince. This just blows me away.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is just competently put together in an exciting way where I do feel like maybe she or her producers or just the project in general took influence from the kind of stuff that people like Kendrick are doing, where it's stepping away from needing a single, needing this song that is 3 minutes of straight, you can just bob your head to the same fucking tempo.
Right.
Like, there's all sorts of kind of tempo changes and like different rhythmic patterns that they're experimenting with. And yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I think for me, the difference from like the Beyonce that I've heard in the past, because I guess she has been pretty candid, like on Lemonade, that was about Jay-Z cheating on her, right? From what I understand. I've not listened to the whole album. That's just like secondhand. But I think for me, it's the stylistic change where like it would be very easy for her to just record big pop singles. And this is very much not, doesn't even seem interested in trying to do that.
Yeah.
Like, you do have Break My Soul, which like isolated, I think I said earlier, like just hearing that on the radio, I'm not super into it.
Yeah.
But the context of the album, it works. Like This is very much like an album you need to listen to, I feel like, start to finish to appreciate it.
Yeah.
I think that in and of itself is pretty impressive for like somebody who makes the kind of music she does.
Yeah.
All right, so number 4, we got Church by Billy Woods.
Yeah.
Old Billy Woods dropped a second album on us, like September, October.
Yeah.
And it's fucking great.
It's fucking great.
Yeah, I'm in the tank for Billy Woods, man. Well, Artist of the Year, if that's a thing, he gets it.
Seems like it, yeah.
He's doing my favorite stuff in hip-hop right now. And we had a lot of rap albums that were really fucking good this year.
None of them sound like this.
No. I mean, unless you count Aethiopes, which, spoiler, that's number 3.
Yeah.
Which, again, is why I tried listening to this over and over again, being really, I listened to 130 albums, and the 2 Billy Woods made are just back-to-back at 3 and 4. But yeah, that's
okay.
That's where I'd put them, man. They're solid. I think I like the back half of Church. Like, when Frankie hits that instrumental, it's just solid all the way throughout to the end. Magdalena's a great closer. Almost like the closest to a single he has, and it closes out the record. And then Aethiopes is just super front-loaded. I feel like you could probably cobble these down into one album, but I don't know. I like hearing the exploration of the other tracks, even if they're not as big as standouts as my favorite tracks.
Sure.
If that makes sense.
I'm glad it's 2 separate albums.
Yeah.
Like, at first it felt pretty close, but Church has definitely differentiated itself for me at this point as like a more accessible Billy Woods.
This feels more traditional hip hop.
Yeah. Aethiopes is like, I've been trying to describe this album to people for like months now, and I can't come up with the right words. I'm always like, it's like, I don't know, kind of discordant samples. Like,
yeah.
It's very strange.
Something tribal about it.
Yes.
Weird.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know. It feels like pulling from this experimental electronic stuff that, I don't know, like Aphex Twin was doing back in the day and people like that. It's just pulling from very different places than where hip hop producers typically pull from. And then Billy Woods himself is, how would you describe him as a lyricist in a way that like kind of sets him apart from other people?
I love his delivery. Like, he's just so precise and distinct with each word, but like he tells a story without telling a story, if that makes sense. Like, it's not like a Tupac where he's telling you like beat by beat what's going on.
Yeah.
But like, it can sound abstract and kind of peculiar, but then the more you listen to it, the more you realize the things are connected. You get the image.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that gets thrown around maybe a little too common, but Billy Woods is very abstract.
That's a good way to put it. It really does feel like it's almost inviting the listener to fill in those blanks a bit more, like how all of my favorite stories are written pretty much, is like not giving you everything and actually allowing some participation and respecting your intelligence.
And so I went back and forth with these 3 records in particular because these were my 3 favorite rap albums of the year.
So Billy Woods Church, Billy Woods Aethiopes, and
number 2, Danger Mouse and Black Thought.
The album is Cheat Codes.
Yeah. So Billy Woods, I think, may have some higher highs than Cheat Codes does on his 2 records, but Cheat Codes is just flawless, man.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a dull moment in that record.
Yeah.
It is so precise, so well put together. Danger Mouse is an incredible producer. Hearing him work with Black Thought, it just like, I don't know what to say about it. It's just so fluid. It's so well done.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say about it. I totally agree. It's pulling on like some of the tropes of hip hop that like got me into hip hop.
Yeah.
Very good curation of samples.
Yeah.
You know, putting
awesome samples.
Yes. Producing a song that sounds like it's not just a beat, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to use beat in like a derogatory way, but let's be honest, sometimes it's like some 808 hi-hat and like a bass, you know. That's not what's going on here. It's like thoughtfully curated little jazz clips, amongst other things that just work very well.
And then number 1. Did you listen to this one, first of all?
Yes.
You did? Okay, good.
Of course.
I thought we were going to go 2 years in a row. Nobody listened.
Oh, this is really good, dude.
I love this. I'm glad you like it.
Yeah.
Because I know, again, we kind of talked about how like we're not big singer-songwriter acoustic guys, but...
No. And again, not to bring it up for like the 50th time, but like I don't listen to lyrics when I listen to music. I'm not concerned with that aspect of music typically, but the lyrics are unavoidable.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we open your record with with that, man. You're just sucked in.
Fucking, yeah. It is like, I feel like I probably had the experience that a lot of people with depression had listening to it, where it's like, you're just saying all this shit? Like, we're not supposed to say that, man. But it's great. It's like, yeah, it's so blunt and just, it's talking about some very real stuff. And I appreciated that, this level of honesty. I feel like that's admirable in any kind of art. And yeah, it definitely broke down my border of like, I am not a folksy person. I have like an allergy to folksy things. And I think sometimes I like conflate acoustic singer-songwriter for folksy. Maybe that's not fair. But I think this is more of a thing now, these like happy, sad songs where you write like happy music and then sing something really sad over it.
Yeah.
But it's never really worked for me as well as this. That title track too, it really got me, man.
Yeah.
He's saying like, grow your hair long if you want to see something you can change. Shit. So my hair is almost at my shoulders for the first time since I was like 20. So yeah, I get it, man.
It's solid. And I think, you have some bands that are similarly like vulnerable and open, like Mount Erie or Sun Kill Moon.
Oh,
where like they're kind of doing this stream of consciousness style writing.
Yeah.
But this still feels like so well crafted. It doesn't feel like he's just reading random strips of paper, This is so well, like the melodies are so well done.
Yeah.
And I think it made me realize that I have weirdly been missing quality country music. Like there's a country twang in there with some of the slides and stuff, and it's cool to see that modernized and have like the synth stuff behind it and actual good contemporary country. We need to take our country back from these outsiders and their honky tonk badonkadonks.
Right, and they're fucking tractors, man.
These Applebee's love ballads.
I feel like we're on the cusp of that almost, because you've got people like this, or like Lil Nas X, or who's that guy? Orville Peck. Have you ever heard of that?
Orville Peck. I mean, Jack White's
that was someone my dad told me about.
Yeah, Jack White's got shades of that.
Sure.
MJ Lenderman, we kind of skipped over him. He was down in the 50s. But yeah, man, I really, really enjoyed it. I even went back because he's got older stuff, and it's more kind of like lo-fi bedroom pop. But this direction definitely resonated a lot more with me. But yeah, I think that's it. Did we miss anything? Do we need to circle back? That's all the gold jackets. Another year in the books. All right. But yeah, you can check out the whole 126 records, internetkilledthevideostore.com. Our next episode's our holiday episode. So now's your chance to air your grievances. Tweet them, DM them, email us, whatever. If you give us a good one, we'll send you a sticker or something, maybe. Yeah. We'll read them. We're winding down. We got a lot of movies to watch. Yes. So that's the next big chore.
Yep. Make sure you tune in for our movie episode.
That'll be January, probably. It takes forever for all the good stuff to come to Fort Wayne, so.
Is that a bigger list than our music?
No, there's no way we're going to have more than 126
We'll probably
movies.
Talk about more, though.
Yeah.
Because like we've both watched a ton, so there'll be more to cover.
I'm trying to police myself there, too. I know Morbius is on Netflix, but I can't. I just can't.
Dude.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
I can't.
No. Get your booster before you watch that. All right. Are we doing recommendations?
We just listed 126 albums.
We don't have to. I'm just making sure.
That's the recommendation.
Yeah.
Listen to this shit.
Yeah.
It's all good.
It is all good. Even the worst.
Except for Just Friends. Fuck those guys.
There's some good songs on there.